And I don't know if this is the right point, but I want to make this claim against Paul Bloom's
Yeah.
article. This
He
is an
also wrote a
important.
response to the Helen
Yeah,
Andrews piece.
yeah, and one of the things he said, and I think his whole article missed the point. Not that it wasn't insightful. It's Paul Bloom. It's always insightful. But he basically said, yes, women are bad at pursuing the truth, but so too are men. Like they're both bad. Right. And he went over the reasons and he said, okay, so he deferred to, I think Julie Galef's her
Yeah.
name, who came up with this notion of the scout mindset
Yeah.
versus the soldier. And the scout's goal is to understand the terrain as it exists. The soldier fights for the team. It doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
truth is. And Bloom said, okay, well, men may be even more soldier-like than women. And I think I take that point, although there are caveats even to that. But my argument would be, again, it's what you want to look at is not so much is the individual adhering to some sort of scientific ideal, but rather is the institution. Individual scientists are often dogmatic and motivated by the desire for reward. They don't really
Data.
care about. Yeah, exactly. It's like they don't care about the truth. They care about promoting their theory. The important thing about the institution is just as in capitalism, it's we don't rely on the benevolence of the butcher, as Smith said. So too, we don't rely on the benevolence of the botanist to keep the alliteration. We assume they're pursuing status and they're forwarding
Right.
ideas and doing experiments to get their rewards. But the institution is working in such a way that that which is rewarded is often closer to the truth than that which is not
Of
rewarded.
course, you and I are pursuing the truth, but a lot of other people in this sphere of podcasting
Exactly.
and article writing, they're engaged,
Yes.
they're concerned about their status.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Shamefully,
that's.
I would add, because
I
I'm,
thought Bloom's piece was half decent. I didn't think it was as interesting as Hanania's response, actually.
oh no,
But because,
yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
true that a large percentage, the vast majority of both sexes are not suitable for like dispassionate truth seeking,
Right.
except perhaps when heavily constrained by institutional norms, etc. But of those people who are well suited for it, most of them are men.
Right. Yeah, I would
I mean,
argue one, most of them are men, but two, men create the institution which provides the incentives, the appropriate incentives. Now, of course, it's not perfect. There are plenty of flaws with it, fraud, etc.
yeah.
But in the long run, Western science has done a pretty good job.
Would you say that there are kind of two archetypes of masculinity, the autist and the berserker? Like,
Sounds like you're going to write a
because
book, The Autist and the Berserker.
in his work on autism, Simon
Mhm.
Baron-Cohen, the famous psychologist,
Yeah,
has argued that autism is an extreme version of the male brain.
right.
Yeah, autistic people are the functional kind, or
Yeah,
the not the non-functional kind, are obsessed with systemizing and usually good at systemizing, and they lack empathy. They lack what he calls cognitive empathy. It's not that they don't care about anyone else; they just have a very hard time understanding their emotions and their intentions. Whereas women are usually much better at that, and as a consequence, women have much lower rates of autism. So that's one archetype, and then the other archetype is the traditional one, the one Hanania is referring to in his piece of
right.
the honorable Bedouin who won't accept any acts of disrespect and will see his enemies drawn before him, or etc. on the battlefield.
No, I don't like this
You don't
because
like
I want to.
this
No, no, because
binary conception of masculinity.
right, because I would add the sort of dignified gentleman is a perfectly viable stereotype of masculinity, and so too is the Caesar. And again, the Caesar is he a berserker? Well, yeah, he killed a lot of Gauls, let's say. On the other hand, he was also an eloquent, refined man who cared about arts, wrote excellent Latin prose, charmed people through his stories and personality. I don't know. So no, I don't see that. And in fact, I think the autist thing is sort of overblown because it's just become fascinating for people. We like the House character, the guy who's the systematizer, but he's a jackass and maybe he has tough time understanding other people's mental states.
I agree. It's a much overused term and a much overdiagnosed condition, as we know from some recent analyses by other people. But according to Simon Baron-Cohen's theory, it is the extreme version of the male brain. So it does seem relevant.
Yes, and it yeah. So that gets into this like ontological question? Does the extreme version of the brain tell you something about the normal brain? So if you take women, the extreme version of the female brain might be borderline personality disorder, and it's interesting in that they're mirror disorders, and that autism is mostly a male, although some women have it, obviously, and borderline is mostly a female disorder. Now, would I say that one of the that are only two like sort of stereotypes of femininity, like the whore and the borderline person, or the Madonna and the borderline? No.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's too reductive, and actually it defies like my own, what I would worship as like the sort of stoic sage ideal of masculinity.
So yeah, it's probably not a generalizable theory. A beautiful theory slain by an ugly fact.
Indeed.
But so another.
To watch the full interview or to listen to it as an audio podcast, become a subscriber at aporiamagazine.com.